You know those little words in English, the ones you barely notice, like can or maybe may?
Mm-hmm.
We sort of toss them around every day without a second thought. But what if I told you there's a hidden superpower packed inside these seemingly simple helpers?
Oh, definitely. A surprising depth of meaning that can change everything.
Exactly.
It's true. They might appear, unassuming, but these are our modal verbs, and they are absolutely fundamental, really.
Right.
They let us express ability, permission, obligation, even how certain we are about something.
They add these crucial layers of nuance, don't they?
Mm-hmm. They make the difference between just stating a fact and expressing, say, a possibility or a requirement or even a regret.
And uncovering that depth is exactly what this deep dive is all about.
Yeah.
We're here to unpack the core meanings and the surprising nuances of these essential verbs. Think can, may, must.
Yeah, and those really useful friends, too.
Right, like to be able to be allowed to have to be to, and need.
Crucial one.
And to guide us, we've been looking closely at a classic grammar text, specifically a collection that breaks down these verbs with, very clear examples and distinctions.
It's a great resource for this.
So our mission, to extract the most important insights from this expert material and give you a shortcut to truly understanding how these powerful little words shape English communication.
Right. The source material provides a fantastic, really structured way to look at them. It often shows the different uses with direct comparisons, which, really helps pinpoint the precise meaning each modal adds in various situations.
Okay, so let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's start with something we do all the time. Talking about what we can do, our ability, and also what's possible.
Absolutely. Can is, it's our go-to verb for expressing ability. Like, I can play the piano. That means I know how to play. Or sure, as the source notes for comparison.
Or I cannot swim, meaning I just don't have that skill. Simple.
Yep. And it's the simplest way to ask about someone's ability or willingness, right?
Mm-hmm. Like, can you sing? Or can you help me? It's just a direct question about capability.
Exactly. But can also steps into the realm of possibility. So when you say he can answer the question, you're saying it's possible for him to do so.
Not necessarily that he has the skill, maybe, but that the circumstances allow it.
Precisely. Or he's likely able to.
I love how the examples from the exercises make this really concrete. Mike can run very fast. That clearly points to an ability.
Mm-hmm. Pure skill there.
But can your brother help me with mathematics?
Yeah.
That could be asking about skill or just if he's available and able to help right now, couldn't it?
Yes, it has that ambiguity sometimes.
Yeah.
And when we talk about past ability, the past form shows up naturally.
Like I could not ski when I was little. Simple, direct.
But here's where it gets, a little more interesting. While can works fine for the present and that simple past ability, English needs a way to express capability in all the other tenses.
Right.
And that's the key role of to be able to.
Okay. So to be able to isn't just like a fancy synonym for can.
Not at all.
It's the one that fills in the grammatical blanks where can just can't go.
Precisely. Think about it. You can say he is able to do it, which is very similar to he can do it, alluju or bojo.
Right.
But you can also say he was able to do it yesterday for past ability, and this is crucial, he will be able to do it tomorrow. That's licho.
Because there's no single word like will, can.
Exactly. So to be able to is absolutely essential for talking about future ability.
And you see it in the perfect tense too, right? Like he has been able to swim since childhood.
Yes. Talking about an ability that started in the past and continues, the source examples really highlight this flexibility.
They seem to.
They do. You see sentences like, the Russian naturally translated with, will you be able to send?
Okay. Makes sense for the future.
Or a past inability like, oh, yellicious, becoming, I was not able to see the director yesterday. It just works across the board.
And it also shows up after other verbs or in infinitive structures.
Yeah, like change it. You can go to the country in a conditional sentence maybe to you will be able to go.
Okay, so the big takeaway here. Why do we have both can and to be able to? This source material makes it pretty clear that to be able to exists specifically to give you the power to talk about ability and possibility in any tense. Anytime you need to express that capability beyond just the simple present or simple past.
It fills those grammatical gaps, perfectly put.
All right, let's shift then. From what we can do to what we're allowed to do. Permission.
Right. the realm of permission. And the main modal for permission, according to our guide, is may.
Yeah, may. It feels a bit more formal sometimes, doesn't it, than just asking with can.
It often does, yes. It's very direct for giving or denying permission. You may take my pen, straightforward authorization.
Or you may not touch it. A clear prohibition. No permission given.
Exactly. And for asking, the classic polite form, may I come in?
The text also mentions might as the past form of may, but specifically in reported speech, right? Like, mother said that I might play.
Exactly. Reporting past permission. And the exercises just underscore this direct use. If you have done your homework, you may go for a walk. Conditional permission.
Or may we make notes with a pencil?
Polite request for clearance. Clear enough.
But now, just like we saw with ability, what happens if you need to talk about permission in a different tense, beyond the immediate present or that specific reported past?
Okay, so there's another helper verb for this too.
There is. That's where to be allowed to comes in. It functions as the equivalent expression for may when you're discussing permission, but it has that crucial flexibility across tenses.
Okay. So, while may in permission contexts is mostly shown in the present or reported past in the examples, to be allowed to gives you the full timeline. Precisely. You can say, we are allowed to stay at home. Present permission, each go. But crucially also, we were allowed to stay at home. Past permission, each you.
And future too.
Yes. We shall be allowed to stay at home. Future permission, if. This range is something may typically doesn't cover directly in its permission meaning.
It's interesting. The source points out that to, beto, when it means necessity by agreement, is only used in present simple and past simple.
Right.
That really highlights how to be allowed to, for permission, has a much wider tense range by comparison.
Absolutely. Good point. And you see it in examples like ichigo which translates to, in England, you will be allowed to drive.
Yeah.
Clearly future permission.
Or he's not allowed to swim in this river. Present denial of permission.
So the takeaway for permission, may is your concise option, often for immediate or polite requests and grants.
But when you need to specify when permission was given, denied, or will be granted.
To be allowed to is the indispensable tool. It gives you access to all those different time frames.
Got it. Okay, let's move from what's possible and permitted to what's required. Obligation and necessity.
Right, and this is where must makes a powerful appearance.
Must feel strong, like a command or a really definite requirement.
It does. The source introduces it for strong obligation or duty. You must respect your parents, a clear moral or social duty.
You must not go there. That's a strong prohibition.
Right.
An obligation not to go.
Exactly. And asking directly, must I learn it by heart? Is this a requirement?
The exercises give great examples. You must work hard on your English, framed as a duty for success. You must not talk at the lessons. A clear classroom rule. Obligation.
Now, it's interesting. While the source does mention a past form of must, it's related to assumption, like, I must have forgotten.
Oh, okay. So not for past obligation.
Correct. For past obligation, it points us to a different structure entirely.
Which brings us to have to. This is also presented as expressing obligation, but our source material helps clarify a key difference. Yeah.
Yes, and this distinction is really practical, I think. The source highlights that to have to often signals an obligation or necessity that comes from outside you.
Outside, like?
From external circumstances, rules, someone else's authority.
Ah, that makes a lot of sense. So must might be more about a personal sense of duty or maybe a general moral rule.
Right.
Whereas to have to is more about being forced by the situation, like I must apologize because I feel I should versus I have to apologize because my boss is making me.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. And crucially, to have to is the one that can express this kind of obligation across all tenses.
Okay, so it's flexible, like to be able to.
Yes. I have to go there. Present necessity. I had to go there. Past necessity. I shall have to go there. Future necessity.
And the negation is completely different. That's key. You must not go there is a strict prohibition.
Don't do it.
But you don't have to go there simply means it's not necessary. You have the option not to go.
Right. Big difference in meaning. The exercises show this clearly. I had to do a lot of homework yesterday. That sounds like past external necessity.
Definitely. Or will you have to get up early tomorrow?
Yeah.
Asking about a future necessity, probably imposed by a schedule.
Exactly. And then there's the third one for necessity, to beto.
Right. Our source calls this a modal for necessity based on an agreement, a plan, or maybe an order.
And it's important to remember the source's note here. This specific modal meaning of to, is usually restricted to the present simple and past simple.
Okay, so it's for prearranged necessity.
Pretty much.
So the contrast is clearer now. I have to go there. I'm forced by circumstance. Versus, I am to go there. It's been planned or agreed upon.
Exactly. The source examples clarify this beautifully. I was to wait for her at the railway station. The source uses a shah, meaning it was scheduled, part of the plan.
All right.
Or he's to come here at 5 o'clock. It's arranged, agreed.
So the key insight from this section, English gives you these multiple ways to say must because it often cares about the reason for the obligation.
Mm-hmm.
Is it internal duty, must to, external pressure to have to, or a prearranged plan to be to? Understanding this just adds a whole level of precision to what you're saying.
Absolutely. Now, sometimes knowing what you don't have to do is just as important as knowing what you do have to do.
Which brings us to need.
Specifically, need not. That signals the absence of necessity.
Right. You need not do it. It means you aren't required to do it. You can choose not to.
Yeah.
The source says, is it babe you?
Exactly. And need I do it is simply asking, is it necessary for me to do it?
Here's a place where a tiny word makes a massive difference. The source highlights the contrast between you cannot do it,
meaning you're unable.
Right, unable, versus you need not do it.
Meaning you are able, but it's not necessary.
Inability versus lack of obligation. Huge difference.
Huge. And for talking about actions in the past that turned out to be unnecessary, we use need not have done.
Wow, this is a classic point of confusion for many learners. I remember struggling with this. What does that actually mean?
Okay, so it means the action was performed, but looking back, it wasn't required or necessary. The source translation helps.
You could have not done it, but you did.
Ah, okay. So the action happened.
Yes. The source example is, he need not have stayed there for the night. This tells you he did stay.
But it wasn't essential. Maybe it was pointless.
Exactly. And again, contrast it with, he could not stay there for the night, which simply states he was physically unable to stay. Different scenario entirely. So need, particularly need not and need not have done, gives you a precise way to talk about things that aren't required or things that were done unnecessarily in the past. Really useful for options or commenting on past choices.
Definitely. Okay, let's shift gears again. Modal verbs aren't just about actions and requirements, are they?
No, the source reveals they're also crucial for expressing how certain we are about something.
Mm-hmm. This is the realm of probability and assumption.
It's like these little words also carry our level of confidence. The source lays this out almost like a spectrum of certainty, doesn't it?
It really does. At the strong end, for making an assumption based on evidence, we use must.
Okay.
It means you infer something must be true. The source translates this use as, oh yeah, man, you're pretty sure.
Like, it must be cold outside, maybe because I can see frost on the window.
Good example. Or he must be very busy because he hasn't replied to any emails all day.
Yeah.
The source exercises 504, 505 give examples just like this.
Right. And for making a strong assumption about something that happened in the past.
We use must have plus the past participle. Seswa, you're pretty sure it happened.
Like, he must have overslept today, or they must have taken the wrong turning. You're inferring it based on some evidence.
Exactly. Now, moving down that certainty scale, the source introduces may for possibility.
Why they goose?
So you think something is possible, but you're not as confident as with must. Less certain.
Exactly. It may rain soon. It's a possibility. Maybe you see clouds. It may be true. Perhaps it is. Perhaps it isn't.
And for past possibility.
It's may have plus past participle. Исходный. The exercises show he may have written the letter. Or how you can rephrase, perhaps you left your umbrella in the bus, to you may have left your umbrella in the bus.
Okay. And for an even weaker possibility than may, what does the source say?
It points to might, suggesting something is possible but perhaps less likely.
Like he might be busy. From exercise 523, right, it's possible, but maybe you have some doubt. You suspect he's not that busy. Though, might can also just be the past form of may in reported speech, or indicate a hypothetical possibility. It's versatile.
Okay. And then at the opposite end of the strong assumption, won't. Must it? We have. Can't. For impossibility.
Yes, can't. This is when you infer something is not true based on the evidence. You're pretty sure it's impossible.
Examples like, but they can't be as bad as he, implying based on what you know, it's impossible they are that bad.
Exactly. Or he couldn't have been more than 40. A strong conclusion based on observation. And for past impossibility, it's can't have plus past participle. So you can't have seen Pete in the concert hall yesterday if you know for a fact Pete was out of town.
Perfect example. Or rephrasing, it is impossible that he has made such an important discovery, to he can't have made such an important discovery. Strong disbelief.
And one final little trick from the source in this section. Can in questions. Expressing surprise or disbelief. Yes, like, can she have spent all the money?
Mm-hmm.
That's not really asking about her ability to spend.
No, it's expressing utter astonishment. Fryak, how could she possibly have done that?
Precisely. This whole spectrum of probability is incredibly useful, isn't it?
It really is. It lets you add such a precise shade of certainty to your statements. Are you inferring it must be true, suggesting it may be true, hinting it might be true, or stating flat out it can't be true?
This section of the source material really helps clarify those options beautifully.
Okay, let's move to our final major use case from this source, expressing advice or recommendation.
Right, and that's primarily the job of should.
Should, okay.
Correct. Should indicates what is advisable or, the right course of action.
Like, you should work more seriously, clear piece of advice.
Or negatively, you should not do it, meaning it's not advisable for you to do this. The source gives fribos sa fonte. Now,
the exercises show this in action. Her diction is not very good. She should read aloud. A practical recommendation.
Mm-hmm. Or advising against something. You shouldn't give the child everything he wants. Standard advice.
Now, like other modals, should has those essential past forms that add another layer of meaning, right?
Yes, absolutely crucial. First, should have done.
Okay, this is about a past action that was advisable, but it didn't actually happen.
Exactly. The classic example the source uses is, you should have bought the book.
Implying you didn't buy it, but it would have been a good idea. It expresses regret or maybe criticism of a past omission.
Right, and the negative, should not have done.
So that's when a past action was not advisable, but it did happen anyway.
Perfect. Yeshose, you should not have bought the book. Meaning, you bought it, and looking back, that was a bad decision.
The source does a fantastic job here, contrasting shouldn't have done with needn't have done. Exercise 555 is key for this.
Yes, it's a common point of confusion.
So, shouldn't have done implies it was bad or wrong or foolish that you did it.
Right, a mistake.
Whereas needn't have done implies it was simply unnecessary that you did it. The action happened in both cases, but the reason you're commenting is different.
Exactly. One is about judgment, bad idea. The other about necessity, pointless action. And it further clarifies things by contrasting should have done.
Which was advisable, but not done.
With must have done.
Which is a strong assumption that it was done.
And had to do.
Which means it was a forced necessity, and it was done. Exercises 556 and 557 are great for seeing these side by side in the source.
They really help cement the differences.
So, understanding should and its past forms is vital. Not just for giving advice, but for reflecting on the past, expressing what was right or wrong to do what was done unnecessarily.
Versus what you're just assuming happened or what was forced upon someone. The past modal forms are tricky, no doubt, but they absolutely unlock precise historical commentary and evaluation.
Wow. We've really unpacked a lot here, haven't we? Following the clear structure laid out in this grammar text.
We have. We started with can and to be able to, showing us how to talk about ability and possibility across all those different tenses.
Then we moved to may and to be allowed to, covering permission, giving us options for different contexts and time frames. Formality versus flexibility.
We explored the various ways English expresses obligation and necessity with must, to have to, and to be to.
Yeah, seeing how the language distinguishes between that internal drive, external pressure, and those planned arrangements. Really subtle, but important.
Then we looked at need not, revealing how to talk about the absence of necessity, and that crucial past form, need not have done, for unnecessary past actions.
And finally, we mapped out that fascinating spectrum of probability and assumption using must, may, might, and can't, plus their past forms, to express different levels of certainty about both current and past situations.
It's amazing how clearly the source material, with its careful definitions and examples, even using those Russian equivalents to highlight the precise English meaning, distinguishes between these uses that might otherwise feel confusingly similar.
It really drives home that the equivalent expressions to be able to be allowed to have to be to, are just, stylistic choices.
No, definitely not. They often fill specific grammatical needs or carry slightly different shades of meaning than the core modals can, may, and must.
And revisiting those comparisons, like the ones in source exercises 561 and 562 towards the end, just makes you appreciate how much meaning is packed into these small words. A simple swap can completely change your message, can't it? From saying something was required to saying you're pretty sure it happened, or that it would have been a good idea but didn't occur.
Absolutely. Understanding these distinctions, as this material lays out so clearly, isn't just about passing a grammar test. It's absolutely key.
Key for what, would you say?
For expressing yourself precisely, for avoiding miscommunication, and for truly understanding the subtle layers of meaning in everything you read and hear. It's crucial, really, for being genuinely well-informed.
So as we finish this deep dive, maybe take a moment, you listening, to think about that contrast highlighted in the source. He had to go.
Forced necessity in the past. Hucka.
Compared to he must have gone.
A strong assumption about a past action. 2 sentences, just a tiny shift in the modal.
And the meaning is completely transformed, from a statement of obligation to a statement of probability.
So the question is, how many other subtle, powerful shifts in meaning are hiding just beneath the surface of seemingly simple words in English, waiting for you to uncover them?